Hi everyone, it's Nicole here from Baby2Sleep, and I am joined by the absolutely wonderful Sarah from Kitchen Titbits. Now, I'm sure, like me, you've got fussy eaters. What toddler isn't a fussy eater? What baby isn't a fussy eater? And children, oh, Sophia is a nightmare when it comes to eating carrots. I'll eat them raw, but I won't eat them cooked. And it's an absolute nightmare. So I'm sure everybody watching this is probably sitting there now going, gosh, yes, my child is an absolute nightmare. Sarah is going to give you some tips on how we can help our little ones, and hopefully give me some tips as well, on how we can help our little ones not be so fussy. So I'm going to hand you over to Sarah.
Hi, thanks, Nicole. Hi, everyone. So firstly, yes, it's very important to know that you're not alone. Pretty much every toddler, every child goes through a fussy eating, or I prefer to say food refusal stage, and it's just natural childhood development. But what we do and how we handle it and how we react to it can really affect how long and how severe the fussy eating can become. There is no overnight quick fix, sorry, Nicole. It does take time, I'm afraid. It takes perseverance and consistency and a huge amount of patience. But they do come out the other end.
What age?
Well, that all depends on the child and the severity, and again, as I said, how we react to it. So there are all sorts of things that we can be doing, both at the table and away from the table, to support children to develop their love of food, to learn to like new foods. It starts with not putting any pressure on them to eat. There's a child feeding expert, Ellen Satter, and she devised what's called the division of responsibility in feeding, and it's at the heart of so much of my work. And she says that it is our responsibility as the carers, when and where food is offered, and the kinds of foods that are offered, so what we put out on the table. That's where our responsibilities end. We can't force our children to eat, we can't feed them. All we can do is provide the food, and then it's up to them, and it's up to them to decide what and how much of the food we offer they eat, and when they start to explore it. So we kind of have to work with these responsibilities and allow our children some of the control that they crave. And some of food refusal does come from wanting control. We control all aspects of their life. What they put in their food, in their mouth and actually swallow, is the only thing that they can control in whole. So yeah, we need to come to the table calm. We need to allow them to have that responsibility to decide what and how much, to be able to follow the cues in their body, so their hunger and their fullness cues, which they instinctively have. They know when they need to eat and how much they need to eat, and the sorts of foods that they eat. So understanding that over a period of week, the amount of food that your child will eat will go up and down depending on energy levels and what their body is telling them to they need to eat. Some days they'll eat you out of house and home, other days they'll barely touch anything. And generally speaking, for a well child, that is completely normal and not something for us to get stressed and anxious about, which we do. And when we do get stressed and anxious, it adds on the pressure for them to have to eat, which has the reverse effect. It actually stops them eating anything at all sometimes. So yeah, stay calm and remember those responsibilities.
So how would you deal with a situation where, and I see this so often on all the different social media, so I know this is not just me. You see all the little gifs and gaffs up there about when it comes to meal times, my child's always full, but yet they seem to have a separate tummy for snacks.
Oh yeah.
No, I get this with Sophia. We put a rule in place now. At weekends, she can't have cereal before she goes to bed. She has to actually eat her tea because otherwise, she will sit, she will pick, she will say she's full. She'll happily have a bit of a pudding, and then half an hour later, she's hungry again and she wants something like wheat bix before bed. And
Yeah,
I've started to kind of go, no, no, no. Okay, weekdays, I kind of get that because you have your main meal at school. We just do something light for tea, especially because they're running round. I'm okay with that in the week, but at weekends, you need to eat the meal. And I'm sure that is something that so many families will struggle with. And go, just
absolutely.
eat the food that's in front of you. You are going to go hungry. So, how can we get our children to actually eat what is there at the time we want them to eat it?
Yeah, so children will eat snacks all day long, constantly, if we allow it. And what you've done there is to set some boundaries. And that's what our children need in so many areas of their life. And around food, they also need some boundaries. So it's up to us to determine what their meal and snack schedule is, to have a routine. So to determine, for example, that they have breakfast, they have a mid-morning snack, they have lunch, they have mid-afternoon snack, and they have dinner. And then depending on the time of dinner and perhaps the age of the child, whether they have a small supper before bed as well. So that is your boundary around when food is on offer. So again, it ties in with that division of responsibility. What's your responsibility around meal times? And if we've got this in place, we can talk to our children about that routine. They can understand that routine within the confines of their day and what else is going on. And when they ask for a snack, we can justify why they're not having one at that point, because we have snack after we've been to the park, we have lunch after we've done this, we do this, then we do that, then you can have some food. So again, I'm not saying that you're not going to get any backlash, but understanding that routine and knowing when food is coming is helpful to them and does reduce that constant demand for snacks and any tantrums that you're going to get as a result of saying no.
So would you say then by doing what we've started doing and saying at your weekend you do eat your meal, otherwise there is nothing else,
Yeah.
would that eventually then turn into her naturally eating her meal?
In theory, yeah. In theory, yes. But as I was saying, children's appetites do vary, and in fact, they also tend to front load their day, so they tend to have a really good big breakfast, a reasonable sized lunch, and a small, if inexistent, dinner in the evening. Whereas as we've grown older, we've kind of, because of routines and work and schedules, kind of flipped our day. So we tend to skip breakfast or just have a small one, and then we have our large evening meal. And it's completely the opposite for children. So actually,
Are
some
we sort of
nights they
inflicting our
don't
own
need or
things upon
want to
them
eat.
that don't fit?
Sorry.
Are we inflicting our own views that we've learned over the years on our children, and they're not quite fitting? In a sense, interestingly, similar. So much of what you said is linked with what I talk about sleep with
Yeah.
the control and
Yeah.
the disciplines and what our responsibilities are as parents. We can only offer
Yeah.
all these types of things. We can only offer a nap. But whether they take it or not, it's up to them.
Yeah.
It all kind of ties in the same. And oh gosh, what was I just saying then? When your mind just goes blank. What was you just saying then? And I was going to say about.
So we can't force them to eat, can we? We can only offer that opportunity. So yeah, we have
Oh, flipping it on
we've
the
come
head. That
out of
was
the
it. I was
habit
saying
and
about
we are
circadian rhythm.
forcing, you're
Yeah,
right, we are forcing them down
a
our
different path.
routines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying, but it's the same with the circadian rhythms. It's what we're so generally most children tend to be early birds. So they tend to wake early and they tend to go to bed early.
Yeah.
But as adults now, the way the working life is and the way that both parents tend to be at work late, bedtimes naturally end up getting pushed later
Yeah,
with an expectation of them to wake that bit later, but they
yeah.
don't.
But
And it
yeah, the
actually,
natural bodily
yeah,
instinct
so
is to
we're
go.
going against our children's natural body clock. And it sounds like we're doing that with food
We are, yeah,
accidentally. We're just kind of going, well, this is what we expect,
yeah,
a later night and a later wake up. Or we put them to bed later and it will all be absolutely fine. We expect them to have a quick lunch or something like that, like we would,
yeah.
and then have a big meal. But then actually they are going to
Which
bed
they
so much earlier, so it
Yeah,
pushes
which they
right.
don't, and which is why at nurseries and at school there's usually a hot meal on offer,
Mm,
because that is when they need their larger meal. And usually by dinner time, a small light snack, a sandwich, a few beans on toast, can be sufficient for them. A few mouthfuls of food sometimes is enough for them. And we do start then panicking that they haven't eaten enough, they're going to therefore wake in the night. And yes, younger children may well wake in the night hungry, if they haven't eaten enough, but as they get older, they don't starve overnight, and then they don't wake up in the night if they've only had a few mouthfuls of food. And it's allowing them to listen to their bodies and for them to say, that's enough for me.
it's
So we
interesting because
can't, yeah, we can never get to the point where we can guarantee they eat that evening meal, because it just might be the wrong thing for them at the wrong time.
I think there's an element there maybe, whereas, and I could be wrong, but I'm just thinking of this from the parents' point of view. When our children are in nursery, we find out how much they've eaten. We know what they've eaten. We know how much they've eaten. So it kind of takes a little bit of pressure away when you come home from nursery to go, actually, they've eaten loads today.
Yeah.
I think when they go to school, there's a bit of a fear of how much did they really eat today at school?
Mm,
Because when they have a main meal at home, they don't really eat that much of it.
mm,
But actually at school, how much are they eating? So
yeah.
can we get away with giving them a sandwich? Because we don't find out.
No, we don't.
Um,
And we just have to trust our children in what they're
mm,
saying they do and don't need. But if they have had a main meal, a hot meal on offer at school, then sometimes we can just say, okay, something small in the
yeah.
evenings is enough. Yeah.
So how would you deal with the I'll eat my carrots raw but not cooked, or I don't like broccoli, or I'm not touching that, or I'll pick the beans out of the actual green beans but not actually eat the thing that's around it.
Yeah, so it's all part of this learning to like foods, and children they go on a journey of exploration. So very rarely with a new food, unless it's a pudding or a sweet, will they put that new food in their mouth and eat it straight away. They have to go on this journey of exploration, and it starts with smelling, it starts with seeing and touching. To get to the point where they might be able to lick it, to take a small amount, chew it and spit it out, to eating a pea-sized amount and gradually then building on how much they eat. So we have to allow them that process. That's how they learn to like. They use all of their senses, both at the table and away from it. So doing activities with involving food away from the table can support that process as well. So allow the exploration, and the eating will come as a result of that, because they need to build comfort and familiarity around foods to get to the point where they understand that it's safe and it's something that they can put in their mouths and potentially enjoy. And helping alongside that as well is seeing us eating and enjoying a wide variety of foods regularly, which is why it's really important for us to eat with our children as often as we can. I'm not saying it has to be every night, but as often as allows in your routines and schedules. But yes, it all takes time, and it's all about supporting this journey. And parts of those, just picking up bits, only eating the floury bit of the broccoli, only wanting raw carrots, is you know, it's quirky behavior, I suppose, that is part and parcel of this journey of exploration. So go with the flow, allow it, support them in that, but also continue to offer variety. So if they only want it raw, do still prepare cooked carrots for yourself, so that, you know, they're seeing both, they're seeing you enjoying both, and a time will come, hopefully, that they then start to enjoy both also. But yeah, they have preferences for textures and temperatures and color and shape also. So, you know, you might present a carrot in sticks and it get refused, but, you know, grate it or cut it into circles and it's accepted. I've just, you know,
Yeah.
that's why it's
It's interesting
important.
you say that about the temperature, because
Yeah.
Sophia's always mailed us. She's always been, she eats it when it's cold. And I'm going, I eat something when it's hot because you might actually enjoy it more. And I gave her some chicken yesterday and, no, 2 days ago. And she really enjoyed it. And it was hot. It had just been cooked. And she went, I ate it when it was hot and it was really tasty. I said, well, maybe you can eat your meals a bit quicker then. If you actually start eating them when they're hot, you might enjoy it a little bit more. And it might take some of the, you know, away, because actually cold meals which are meant to be hot aren't really that nice.
Yeah.
Whereas the 2-year-old sister will sit there and wolf it while it's hot. I go, she's got asbestos mouth like a mother. Something I saw in the article in the Metro, wasn't it? You'd mentioned about leaving raw bits of veg and things around. Just talk to me about that, because when I read that, I kind of started thinking, I'm not going to eat a raw broccoli. So give us some examples.
Yeah, so it's about offering as many opportunities as you can throughout the day for them to be exposed to a variety of vegetables, and have the opportunity to eat them. So including vegetables on offer at breakfast, at snack time, at lunchtime, at dinner time, and then as we might have a fruit bowl in the house, why not have a vegetable bowl in the house also? There is absolutely no pressure then for them to eat. They're constantly seeing it on their way to somewhere, or it's near where they're playing, and you never know when they're going to pick that up and try something new. Because
Are there any better ones to pick that are out and about, that are raw, that they could pick up and potentially? Because I'll be honest, I'm a grown up and I can't say I fancy raw veg. The only things I'd go for is like a carrot, but I'd have to peel it and slice it. Is there anything in particular that you think, actually, do you know what, that's not a bad thing to leave out that's raw, that they can eat, that we might be able to actually lead by example by?
Yeah, so it can be something as simple as, you know, a few sticks of peppers, a couple of carrot sticks, a few bits of cucumber, some baby tomatoes. It doesn't have to be anything exotic, and it can be the sorts of things that, yes, you'll eat yourself, or that you know you can just throw into another meal. You know, if it doesn't get eaten, the point of this is not to generate waste. The point is to support your child, but then knowing that you can use it if it's not eaten.
That's great for that.
But yeah, it's about increasing that exposure so that they become comfortable and familiar, and the more we see it, the more likely we are to eat it. There was a research done into adults, and it was with fruit, but it was, if there was cut up fruit left by the kettle, it was more likely to get eaten than whole pieces of fruit left in a fruit bowl.
Because I would agree with that entirely.
The work has been done for you. You're at the kettle, you're there to make a cup of tea already. It's easy to just grab it. So you can build in these good habits into your lifestyle easily, because we attach it to doing another process. And it's the same with children.
That's exactly the perfect way to have put that, because for me, I'm thinking leaving a bowl of veg around. Oh, but that, when you say it like that, makes complete sense, because I could literally just leave a few carrots around or a few cucumbers. They're even, I can't say eat cucumbers, but you know.
The other thing you can do with that as well is, if, you know, they come and it's dinner time, dinner's not quite ready, but they're snapping at your ankles, they're hungry, you can say, okay, come and sit down, and you can get a bowl of vegetables that you've already cut up, put them in the middle of the table, come and sit down, you know, have a chat with me whilst I finish dinner. And, you know, they may well eat those vegetables because, yes, they're hungry. There's no distraction of other foods that they would prefer to eat. And that, again, can be a really good introduction to getting them to eat more vegetables.
That's a really good tip. Thank you. Right, so you have courses. So if anybody's actually watching this going, I just can't see my child working with this, and or they seem to have some other kind of food aversion and I can't seem to work out how to help them, what can you do? Because you have courses, don't you, to help parents?
I do. So I have two different courses. One's a real in-depth how to feed your fussy eater. So we start at the very beginning and we take you on a journey, and it's all tailored to you. So it's working one-to-one with me. Or you can just have a 1 hour support session, mealtime support session with me, and you'll fill in a questionnaire ahead of time so we can make really good use of that 1 hour. Take a deep dive into 2 or 3 challenges that you've currently got and send you off with an action plan that's going to work for you, it's going to work for your family, and it's most definitely going to work for your child.
That's exactly what they need, something that's going to work for their lifestyle and their family.
Absolutely, because there's a plethora of information out there, but it's understanding how do I make that work for me.
I think that's the bit that most people struggle with, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
absolutely
it's the same with
fantastic. Where
sleep,
can
isn't
people
it?
find you? Where can people find you?
Yep, so I'm online, kitchentitbits.co.uk, or you can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Kitchen Titbits, on Facebook, search out Kitchen Titbits. I've got a free Facebook group there as well, Stress-Free Family Mealtimes. I'm on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, just
You're
search.
everywhere. You're
I'm
everywhere. Just
everywhere.
Google Kitchen Titbits, you'll find her. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been really, really
Thank you for
useful for
having me.
me. And I'm sure it'll have been so useful for so many others as well that sit there going, just eat your food.
Tearing my hair out.
Just eat. I've spent ages cooking it. Just eat. Maybe I should try some tips with my husband.
Yeah, I work with Fussy too.
But this has been so useful. Thank you so much for coming to speak to me today.
You're
Thank
welcome. Thanks
you.
for having
That's
me.
Sarah from Kitchen Titbits. See you later. Bye.
Bye.